chapter 20 of the book of Genesis. Not a long one today, pretty short one, but I hope you're really enjoying these. If you haven't watched chapter 19, the last one we did, man, there was a lot to learn in that one. A lot of fun stuff that we can understand about that time of history. So we're turning our sights back to Abraham and his life. So that was chapter 19 was kind of the story of Lot that most people are well known, have heard about with Sodom and Gomorrah and things. Now we're going back to Abraham and a little bit more of his life moving forward from here. We'll get back to the ideas of these descendants of Lot, the Moabites and the Ammonites, and that'll come in later in the Old Testament. But chapter 20, we're going to move on with this. So I hope you're enjoying these videos. I'm not trying to make them to be spectacular. I'm just trying to be simple about how I'm recording these and putting these together because I want you to focus on the message. I want you to focus on the stories and understanding what's happening and how can we learn things for our day and age because of these things. Okay, I want you to understand the Old Testament better and to help you, because as you read these, if you understand the stories, you can start to gain more lessons and insights from them, especially if people use them in conference talks or other church talks or things. You can have discussion. You can talk about these things to help each other to learn more truth. So if you're liking these videos, please like, comment on them, what you think of these stories as we go through them. Liking and commenting actually does help use the algorithm on YouTube so that these videos get seen by more people. So that does help support this channel to be promoted out to more people through the YouTube algorithm. But do share them. If you know people, if you're in other groups on Facebook or wherever, share the links to these videos out to tell more people, here's one source, not the source, but one source to learn more about the Old Testament. And you can look at the other videos that we've made with Doctrine and Covenants, and we have Book of Mormon coming out soon, and New Testament soon as well. We're going to keep going till we've gone through all the standard works, basically. Pearl of Great Price is pretty much out already with these as well. All right, let's jump into chapter 20. Abimelech, this is a guy we're going to learn about here, desires Sarah, who is preserved by the Lord. Abraham prays for Abimelech, and the Lord blesses him and his household. This is going to be a similar story to what we got with Pharaoh. Okay, a little bit of a similarity here. Again, going back to the idea that Sarah was a gorgeous woman, and a lot of kings really, 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 really wanted her as part of their harem or their wives. Verse 1, and Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country. So thence, meaning he's leaving the area near where Sodom and Gomorrah and all that area was destroyed. Remember in chapter 19, we learned that he got up and he walked out, and he lived up in the mountains, and he witnessed what was happening, witnessed at least the aftermath, I should say, of what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah after the meteorite explosion. And he's now leaving the area. He's going to the south country. So he's heading south from this area. This is north. So this is the Jordanian plains north of the Dead Sea. So he's heading south, probably down through what we would call Jerusalem and even further south, possibly from there, which would be on his way towards Egypt as well. And Abraham journeyed toward the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur and sojourned in Gerar. Now, Gerar is in the Bible dictionary. You can look it up to understand more about where this is. Use the maps in the Bible dictionary to get some ideas of where these places are. You can look up Abimelech in the Bible dictionary as well. He's there. So verse 2, and Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. So again, we have the situation. Abraham and Sarah are journeying into another kingdom. And Abraham says, this is my sister. So he's using the same story that he told Pharaoh, basically, so that he doesn't get killed, because it was not uncommon. Hey, if I like that woman, I'm just going to kill her husband and then take her, basically. As long as the husband's alive, I can't take her. But once the husband's dead, I can take her. Not uncommon, if you think about it. This is the same concept of idea that happens to King David with Bathsheba. As long as she's married, he can't have her. So he causes her husband to be killed in war so he can take her, basically. So you kind of see a trend here, a philosophy or a concept, idea of how they believed, at least. So they're using the same concept of, this is my sister, so that Sarah can then go be with the king and talk and do stuff, but then it preserves Abraham's life. And then verse 3, but God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. So Abimelech has taken her and said, ooh, I like this. You're going to stay in my house. And he's probably starting that courting opportunity to talk with her, to get to know Sarah, to help her to be a part of, hey, you want to be a part of this. You want to be in my kingdom. You want to be part of my harem. So Abimelech has a dream that night after he has had her come stay in his royal area, that realizes God is now telling him, he's dreaming, and he basically just, somebody is in this dream is telling him, that's probably coming across very powerful, that woman you just took is a man's wife. So that means he is in violation of the laws, basically. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? So Abimelech hadn't done anything illegal with Sarah yet. Basically, he's having her stay. Like I said, this is probably like a courtship type situation where he's trying to convince her to stay rather than force her to stay. Trying, hey, come stay in my palace. Come stay up here. Look how awesome this is. I want you to stay. And so Abimelech's like going, but why would you destroy us? We've tried to keep the laws, which unfortunately was probably more idol worship and other things back then, not the true gospel. And so he's trying to say, we're good people. We're good people. You don't need to slay us. What's going on? So verse 5, said he not unto me, she is my sister, and she even herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. So verse 5, Abimelech is basically saying, look, they both said they're brother and sister. They told me they're brother and sister, so I'm not guilty of committing any problems here. They lied to me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm innocent in what's going on, basically. Verse 6, and God said unto him in a dream, yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. So apparently the Lord influenced Abimelech to not try any crazy, gropey, grabby, creepy stuff with her, basically. Taking a little bit more of a patient approach with Sarah. And so the conditions were set up to where he either couldn't or was talked out of doing that, basically, of being too forward with Sarah. So now verse 7, the Lord's still speaking. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Now, I got to admit, that is one heck of an admonition. Look, you give her back. He is a prophet. Basically, he is my spokesperson. Don't mess with him. And if you give her back, he will pray for thee. Because again, that's the kind of guy Abraham is. He helps people. He's kind. He's looking for ways to help people, not hurt people or get revenge. And he says, if you don't, so God's telling me, if you don't, you can pretty much guarantee everything, you and everything, your life and everything you have will be destroyed. And I have to wonder on this as well. You got to think about this. I'm not sure how long this story happens after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, but there's probably a good chance that Abimelech has heard the word about what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm sure there's a little bit of fear of God in everybody at that time going, oh my gosh, that was over in an instant. And like the study that we talked about in the chapter last week, around like 60 some odd thousand people died within a matter of minutes to an hour or so. I mean, not long. It just wiped out a whole area, 25 kilometers of area. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard that story. The rumors probably spread rapidly through the area. So when the Lord comes to a dream to a king saying that you and your city is gone, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, if you choose the wrong choice, you're gone. I wonder if that was in the back of Abimelech's mind going, yeah, it's very possible he could take us all out like that. because this probably wasn't that long after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Days, maybe weeks later, depending on how long it took Abraham and his group to travel south down to this area. Therefore, Abimelech, this is verse 8, rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears. And the men were sore afraid. So again, you got to admit, if he's going, hey guys, here's the problem. Sarah is actually, she lied to us and Abraham lied to us. They're married to each other. So we need to give her back. You need to take her back and do this. If you don't, then, and make sure she's taken care of and she's okay, the Lord said he's going to wipe us all out. And again, I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're going, yeah, that just happened not long ago to Sodom and Gomorrah. And oh my gosh, we do not want to have that happen to us. So they were afraid. Now, verse 9, then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, what hast thou done unto us? What have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, what sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? So he's trying to understand, Abraham, why did you lie to me? Why did you tell me this? Why didn't you tell me that you guys were married together and that you're a prophet of God and all this stuff? Why did you not come? Why were you not honest with me? Because now God is threatening to destroy us if we don't give her back to you. So this is what Abraham said. Verse 11, Abraham said, because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. So again, he's worried that the same situation that happened in Egypt with Pharaoh would happen again. Basically, that's what Abraham was thinking, is he's worried that whole scenario that happened in there, which means he was sacrificed. Remember, Pharaoh tried to get rid of Abraham, sacrificed him to the gods of Elkanah, the priest of Elkanah. He had to pray. Angel came down. They killed the priest of Elkanah, basically, and destroyed the altars and the whole area so that Abraham could be freed. And then they still, an angel still had to intercede for Sarah as well. And then Abraham and Sarah were able to leave, and it was, kind of a crazy situation. So in Abraham's, we're learning here, Abraham was thinking, this is probably going to happen again. So we're going to use the same tactic we used then in Egypt, we're going to use again here. Okay, so that's what he said. In verse 12, we gain a really interesting insight here. Verse 12, and yet indeed she is my sister. So Abraham's saying, I didn't actually lie to you. She is the daughter of my father, Terah, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. That is an interesting insight. We didn't get that in the earlier story of Abraham. What this means is Sarah is Abraham's half-sister. So they're technically brother and sister, but by the laws of the land could still be husband and wife because they're not literal blood relatives of each other all the way. They didn't have the same father and mother. Like Lot and his daughters, that would be incest. If Abraham and Sarah were brother and sister, that would be incest. But they're according to how they did things back then, that wasn't seen as a bad thing. So technically, Abraham wasn't lying. Even to Pharaoh, he wasn't lying. We didn't learn that in that story. We only learned that in this story. All right, so verse 13, and it came to pass when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, this is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, he is my brother. So when again, this goes back, if you remember, when the Lord said, you need to get out of Ur, get out of the Ur of the Chaldees, get out of this area, and I'm going to take you to another land and do things there. That this idea was, hey, every time we get into a new kingdom, here's how we've got to do things. This was, as far as Abraham was concerned, this is the what they call the modum operandi, something like that. This is how we do things, basically, when we ever come to these new areas, to preserve my life as the prophet and things like that. And so in verse 14, excuse me. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. So Abimelech is giving him animals as a gift, and Sarah his back, saying, hey, look, we just want to make sure we're all cool. There's no hard feelings or no issues here. And Abimelech said, behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. So Abraham can pretty much go anywhere he wants. Abimelech's like, look, dude, I'm not getting on your bad side. Apparently God is on your side, so I don't want to get on your bad side. So you can go wherever you want. And verse 16, and unto Sarah he said, behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So he's protecting her to an extent. He should be helping her and protect her. Verse 17, so Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech, just like God said he would in the dream, and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. So now here's what's interesting about this, okay? If you have all of these wives, you have maid servants, you have all these people, none of them were getting pregnant. Like, it was just like there's this drought of pregnancies that was happening, basically. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It takes some time to understand, at least a few weeks before you understand, oh, did I get pregnant or not? If you look at how pregnancies happen, and especially how women know when they're pregnant, you have as best as I understand, you could correct me in the comments if I say anything wrong here. Usually women find out they're pregnant because they miss a period. They go that, wait, this didn't happen. What normally happens on a regular pattern didn't happen. If I have had any intercourse, I might need to have a pregnancy test done. So, and they didn't have the little sticks you could pee on back then either to know if you're pregnant. So that was their first sign of it. So you got to realize this probably took some time for this to happen, and realize that nobody's getting pregnant. There's like a drought, a famine of pregnancy happening. And so when they gave Sarah back, that part of that prayer was to bless them with children, and all of a sudden lots of pregnancies were happening now. Everything was going either back to normal or maybe even better than normal. We're not sure, but things changed. So an interesting story. I'm not 100% sure why they put the story in the Old Testament, other than it's more to understand about the life of Abraham and Sarah, and it's kind of a similarity with what happened in Egypt. But it is interesting. Okay, and I think we see Abimelech later on as well. So maybe it's just telling us a little bit of a story of how they connected as we continue on in understanding the Old Testament. So we'll see you on the next video.